That happened so fast. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Tabatha.
All right, here we are. It's your upfront and personal interview. Oh, did you notice my shirt? We got some merch.
It's very cool. It's very, very cool. I love it. I hope I can get one.
It's while supplies last, you know?
Okay.
But you'll be the first to be introduced to all the merch at the screening.
All right, awesome.
Tell me, Matthew Salas, who are you and what are you up to?
Well, I'm an actor and a director down here in South Florida, and I'm playing Craig in Pit Bulls and Piranhas, and it's been an awesome, wonderful, really cool experience.
Yeah, we're going to dive in pretty deep to how wonderful that gritty experience your profile as Craig was a supporting actor in a submissive role with this, with a dynamic. You and Dan had a dynamic.
Yeah.
And it couldn't have come across better. We're going to see a few little scenes here in a minute. But what attracted you to the role?
Well, first of all, I would say, it was definitely when I got the sides. I think a lot of the times when you get sides, at least for me, I'm always looking for, okay, what kind of journey is the character going on, even in just the small snippet. And the thing that I really loved about it was that there was just such a clear journey, I thought, from Craig, just in those 3 lines from the beginning to the end of the scene. And I got such a sense of who he was that I was like, oh yeah, I like this. I have a take on it right away. And I think when you see writing like that, it shows, because a lot of the times when you get sides, I feel like it's all right, I really got to try to make the journey for myself, but for me, when I read the sides for Craig, I was like, oh, it's so clear. And I think, when you see writing like that, it shows that there's a lot of care taken, and that there was a lot of, there's a lot of care, and that there was a lot of a love in it. So I thought that kind of, and passion. So I thought that's what really drove me to it, I think, right away.
Yeah, and you only get to see so little, and then you get the whole script, and you're like, wait, what did I sign up for?
Yeah, no, totally.
For those who don't know, what is a side?
Oh, it's the audition script. So it'll be a piece of the full script, or even some sample dialogue that they give you to audition with.
Mm-hmm. And now it's sides. Most of it is self-recorded.
Yeah, and that was the process for me. Was I self-taped and sent it into you?
Yeah, no, it's definitely made it into the making of video, so that'll be really fun to watch as well.
Oh, that's kind of
You did so good. That's why you got chosen. You had Craig with no notes, no understanding outside of maybe they send you, I don't know if they send you a little blurb on the character or not.
Yeah, they sent the synopsis of the character breakdown.
Yeah, and you had it from jump. So I was so excited because you were just everything worked. You were the right look, you were the right physique, you were the right timid in the acting role. He is of his own, but he's very submissive to Dan's kind of big, heaviness.
Totally. Yeah. And then, I appreciate you saying that I had that from the jump, but honestly, I think meeting Tim and then getting Tim in with it, playing Dan, right away even more established it. Oh yeah, because he was so intense and so in it, and so just it was so establishing that dominance the whole time. It felt really easy to slip into that kind of more submissive, more that more submissive kind of guy.
How did this role differ from others you've taken on?
Oh, it's very different in that, even just the dirtiness, I've never been in some like a set or even just like an acting role where I was so sweaty and dirty the whole time, and just like that kind of like gritty and griminess is very different from what I usually get, because I do a lot of theater, and in that I'm usually cast as more of like the boy next door type, or like all American kind of like leading man-ish. And so to do this was really fun. It was really fun to do something kind of really dark and who's more rough and tumble,
Yes. Yes. I have, my nerves are all bent out of shape because of how dark it is. And we have our WIP screening coming soon, the work in progress, with cast and crew to celebrate everyone who did just amazing work. But yeah, it differs from a lot of things we usually see in South Florida. It's definitely very independent, and it's a gritty, raw, dirty film.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, like even just like that was like such a different, because I mean the whole time just like you could not get away from just like everything sweating, everything dripping, and also with like how close we were as well, like just acting wise. It was it was grimy.
The intimacy between certain scenes, and that's how I like to document, is very specific lenses that show a intensity between closeness. It establishes the power dynamic very well. Let's watch a clip from that power dynamic. Let's see here. I think it is here. Let's show it.
Man, take it easy. This ain't got nothing to do with you. Hey, man.
It's so intense. It's so intense. I always look at my face. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
You two were beyond close. I mean, you were sharing air.
And like I said, I think that's a real testament to Tim, like his fearlessness, and just because he just closed the distance on me. Like I was, I was trying to keep it maybe a little bit laid back, and he just came in right there, and like we were touching foreheads that whole scene. Sharing sweat. It was crazy.
Yeah, it comes across again. The reason I love films like this is because the audience, whether they like the feeling or not, are going to feel what is intended, and the power dynamics and the mental health struggles and the, just the consideration of all of these offbeat characters.
Totally.
Wow, it's just, we watched 7 seconds, because I guess that's the attention span of most people. But it's intense. I loved it. What was one of the more challenging parts for you?
Well, I really haven't done too much film before this, and so I think definitely learning like on the fly, kind of like modulating my voice and my body language to film, and then also kind of getting like the out of order filming was is something that I really had to get used to, and really kind of, okay, so we're filming my last thing, or like one of my last things like first, so I have to create that I have to create that rich and that deep imagery of like, what have I just been through? What's been going on? What's this day been like for me? Right. What's my familiarity with the space, and things like that. And so that was a lot of the big challenges. And then, discovering like how I can make the choices that I want to make as an actor in the filming, and like in the takes, and make that shown. Because I think like being kind of new to film, it was like, okay, and now we're gonna, film you doing your lines and just go. And it's like, oh, okay, and it's like, it's just me just doing this, and it's like doing it a couple different times and figuring out, like what's the best one, which requires you to get into a different state to be in the moment and to be present with it.
So did I skip? What was your process to get into this character?
Yeah, I guess we didn't talk about that too much. But for me, I think the thing is always, foremost for me is I always try to think about the intention and the want of the character, right? Like, what is Craig going for in this scene, and like what does he really desire? And then that I think is like always first and foremost as far as like my style of acting. And then but as well, I think for every character it's a little different. And with Craig, actually, I thought a lot about like kind of building the character and things like that. I thought a lot about like who he was in school, and like kind of how he would experience that as a kid, because he does come from a background where he's not as educated, and it probably wasn't emphasized. And so I think like giving that, getting to think about that a little bit, how was interesting for me and gave me like a way of thinking about him.
Aw, that's fun.
Yeah.
So you gave him a whole backstory.
Yeah, well, at least the things that I feel like I can help me make choices and be like, oh yeah, no, that's who this guy is. That's who he is for sure. Yeah, I think a lot about like where who they are and kind of like their core memories.
Off topic, but in subject, you got to handle a pit bull. Working quite a bit. You had a whole process with I don't know what they call it. It's a acting dog.
yeah, I guess a performance dog or
canine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. We have some behind the scenes of you, just getting used to such a big dog, and then you coming into the pit, and then it was just what an intense scene.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was really worried because obviously, like, it's a lot of responsibility. And then as well, the animal handler was like, okay, like you have to do this, and I'm like, all right, yeah. And I was like really worried. I'm like, I got to do it. Like I got to, I got to make sure like everything's good and the dog is safe and I feel safe and everything's good. And then when it was happening, I was like, oh, this isn't too bad. The dog's really, is actually very like cooperating very well, and it's not hard at all. And I'm standing my ground and holding it and doing the things that I need to do to feel safe and to make sure everyone's safe. And and actually just get into the scene. So
that was my first time working with on-screen pit bulls. I've worked with a chimpanzee, a cat.
You worked with a chimpanzee?
Yes, on a music video.
Oh, dang.
It's, in California. And a few other animals, but of course they had handlers, and it was the whole process.
Right.
We had fish and pit bulls, piranhas. So I was like, yeah, I can't wait until someone offers me the opportunity to work with these two amazing creatures. I'm going to have to just do it.
Yeah.
So it was really fun to watch that whole process and to get those shots and to hopefully do them the highest justice that we could.
For sure.
Without being raw, but not being almost too real. Because, there's obviously consequences to that. But what was your highlight?
Oh, my highlight. Oh, you know what it was? And I hope it made it into the into like the final edit, but there was a moment on day 2 of filming where I'm like counting the money from our fight the night before, and Dan's like in the back cooking the steak, and I'm there and I'm counting the money, and then I'm like celebrating, I throw it all down, and then I have to like pick up the cash really quickly, and I totally forgot, I forgot one of the dollar bills, and Tim came over and like picks it up with the tongs, like put it in my face, and I love that moment, that like that happy accident that happens, when you're like both in the moment and acting it fully, and you just get like a really cool character moment that gets to play out that you don't expect.
Yep, we have the tong pick up and put over. And what I love about Dan in that moment is he's so stern and so low toned, and just like telling you, relax, keep it down, and you're just like, okay.
Yeah. Act like you've been there before.
What a wild scene. You guys really had so many camaraderie moments, because after the dog scene, we had this beer throwing scene.
Well, that was another one I was gonna say. It could have been like one of the highlights, because I loved that moment. Like, yeah, because it was just like wild. Like, it was so much fun to do, and just like totally just letting it out.
Yeah. So it's so exciting, and that's how you would feel if you just won whatever.
Yeah.
So that was a really good. Did you walk away with any insights to acting or to the process or anything like that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, a lot of different stuff. I mean, acting wise, like I said, like with just being able to make like the small decisions in the background about with my character, like where am I looking at a certain point, or even when the focus isn't on me, like, yeah, how exactly I can show what Dan's going through, right? Yeah, we just had this nice win, and now I'm getting kicked around a little bit, and so I can still, right, like even if the focus isn't there, like still show all of that like inner life, and it just adds to the richness of the whole picture. As well, I think just like all the hard work that is going on the set at all times, and like all of the different moving pieces that are in like turning together as cogs in the machine, that and what a testament it is to see it run so smoothly, because I could definitely be like, oh yeah, I could see where this can end up very poorly very quickly with just how many things are going on.
That's movie magic. You just have literally everyone's genius is just running around the same intention to make the best possible film you can.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like that was the thing about learning to act, like, in the film, where it was like, oh yeah, like my job solely is just like make Craig as real as possible, and like and everyone else, like, you don't need to worry about anything else, because like everyone else has got it. So
that's a great testament to crew. They'll love that. Did it, so in the world of Insights, did it promote any growth within you?
Yeah, for sure. I think I take something from like every role, and I think like you take something from every part you're able to play. Even if it's just small things that like you forget the next day or whatever, but I think it did definitely promote some insight in me in kind of how difficult it is to do the right thing in those moments of the highest intensity. I think like that's really what Craig is faced with, and what you'll see from him is that, right, there's the people where they say character is like what you do, is like the choices you make, like when things matter the most, and like when no one else is looking. And this is a moment where, no one was really watching him, like he had a choice to make, and he doesn't, and he doesn't follow through on it.
Yeah.
And also kind of like, so I think that was something.
Yeah, par for the course for him. What do I have here? I have another. Oh, I should have showed this a little earlier. This is you counting the money. It's a short clip, so it doesn't have the tongue.
Okay.
I think it was posted today. Let's have a look.
Cool.
It's just you counting money. I thought it was you when you drop the money, but it's not. We'll have to wait for the film.
Right.
Because you put it on the table, it all flies everywhere, and it's just perfect. Everything's perfect because it's in disarray. Now you got to put it up. There's this great motivation and movement. And then you get these magic moments with the tongs. And
which I think like even the money throwing was even like a thing where like I was supposed to throw it on the table, and I just kind of threw it and it hit it and poofed everywhere.
Loved it. You and Dan, Tim, and Matt you guys were like linked from the jump. You guys had such a nice synergy, and you were able to ad lib and just kind of go wild.
Yeah, that was that was just fun. I think we both just both had strong ideas of who these guys were, and were excited to explore it more, and I think and I give a credit to you and having the rehearsal periods, because I even think like in those short rehearsals, like, we definitely established like what this relationship is like, and how they interact with each other, and and how they talk to each other, because it definitely gets graphic, and gets pretty, Jan gets pretty nasty with me,
He's a little bit of a bonehead. Yes. So what was your favorite scene to film, and why?
There was something fun about all of them. But I think the last day with the dog, because I got to handle the dog, and I didn't think I would get to do that, and that was very fun, and that was a really neat kind of experience. Also, we had a lot of extras that day for the fight, and so the energy and the extras kind of adding what they could do, and the rah rah rah, and all the chatter was really great. And it was a night set, so it was kind of cooler, and it was just felt really the atmosphere felt really powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it did. That was a night to remember, and we wrapped that night, so even more energized, for sure.
Yeah.
Is there any person that stood out to you on set? Maybe Dan or Glay? Glay said all the things about you. She said she was like, as a supporting character, I could not even wrap my head around how brilliant you were.
Oh, that's incredibly kind of her to say, because I mean, just looking at the footage that you've been posting, and you see it right away. The passion and the stakes and the full embodiment she brought to the set every day. And then and not only that, but then like also like filling in for makeup and doing like everything she did. You just saw the commitment and the like I said, like that full embodiment of the character in her performance. So I feel very lucky that she said that about me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, there were so many. Even like you, I thought like you're like I've never seen someone so in the zone as you with like the camera, like capturing everything, trying to get the right shot, trying to find like where you should be to get like the right emotion and like what's going on in the scene. Yeah, I was like, he's so like serious and in the zone. Like it was something else. Lou, the sound guy.
Lava Lou,
Lava Lou. He was such like a bright spot on like like a very heavy set, just like constantly like in a good mood, always picking people up, always like ready to down for whatever. And yeah, like just made the set like so great. Yeah, I mean Tim, I've talked about him, but like truly just made it so real for me. Even when it was just like, yeah, like when he's not in the scene and just giving me the lines, like his willingness to just go whole hog on like every single take, every single time. And that stare he has is frightening.
Yes.
Frightening.
Yes. It was
yeah.
self-tape. His self-tape was frightening. I was like, yes. When you're scared of someone and all they've done is sent you aside, a self-tape, you're like, this is magic. This is really good.
Yeah. And then yeah, and just like, and just like even physically, because like he was so much like he was taller than me, like it's just like, oh yeah, like the way he was coming down at me, I'm like, yeah, that's something. So
it was intimidating for sure, and that's what the role was. And you guys as a dynamic, though, it was sincerely like a dynamic duo. It felt real. It felt like you guys knew each other forever. You got the sense of both of you immediately. So I think the audience is going to fully get it.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you're both offbeat characters that are, likable to some degree, but also questionable on many levels.
Right. Totally.
In closing, I have two personal questions.
Okay.
What is the greatest lesson you've learned in your life?
So a couple things come to mind, but I think the biggest thing is like as a recovering perfectionist and as someone who like has spent a lot of time like dealing with like anxiety, especially around like doing things perfectly, it's that the doing is the reward of things. I think a lot of the times I'm always thinking like, oh, like I want this to be this way, or I want to get this result, or I want it to look like this and be like this and whatever. And it's like, well, yeah. And then, so I have to wait for like the perfect circumstances to arise, or something like that. And it's like, okay, well, then you may never do it, and I think like the doing of the thing is its own reward. It's like, yeah, you do it not because of what's going to happen at the end of it or what it might come out as, but because it's worthwhile, right? Because like it drives you and it's exciting and you have fun doing it. Like that in and of itself is good enough. And I would say to pair with that, it's that like everything is a compromise, okay, you could wait for the perfect circumstances or whatever it is to get this thing done or to do something that you're feeling passionate about. But even when you do it, there's still going to be choices that you have to make. There's still going to be things that you have to decide, oh, you know what, that can't get done or that will never be doable. So I'd say those two things. And obviously there are things that I'm constantly relearning.
Like what? I want to know.
Oh, like those. I'm constantly relearning them. I'm constantly, yeah.
I love both of those. So the first statement is that you're a recovering perfectionist.
Yeah.
But what I heard was kind of do it anyway. Like,
yeah.
continuously do it for the passion, don't wait for every star to align to do what you know in your heart you want.
Right.
And we have such, an incredibly short time here as human beings, so we have to just go for it. I talked to everyone so far. I have an interview tomorrow, and they're going to ask me why this film. And though my why is huge, but in the short, it's I love having a visceral experience when I watch a film. I love to be a little uncomfortable, even disturbed, and ask myself, is this an empathetic thing? Is this an intelligence thing, an emotional thing? Like, why am I having this reaction? And I get to study myself while watching a film and then gauge empathy, gauge any kind of emotional intelligence, anything that furthers my understanding and awareness of the world.
Totally.
So when I was like, there's certain projects I do because I want to. This project was, I have to. I don't know why or what other people believe, but the universe says, you must do this.
Yeah.
Now is the time.
Yeah.
So I did. And you've been on that journey, and it means so much to me. That's why we're here in this room right now, crossing paths. And I'm so grateful to your agent. I'm grateful that you were a yes. I'm grateful you were willing to get dirty and take on a grittier role. And let's do an independent underbelly film.
Yeah. No, I'm grateful to have gotten the chance. Honestly, it was a really wonderful experience.
Yeah. And then if you had a magic door that opened to anywhere, where would you want it to lead you?
I think, honestly, it would be like just the most immaculate feast I could imagine. just like the most perfect food for any occasion, or like I'm just like some good mac and cheese, some good I don't know, like good like Indian food and like naan and like buttery, soft, garlicky naan and things like that, and just like the most glorious feast. And then my friends and family probably are there to share with me.
I see this very long, beautiful table just feasted up with mismatched chairs, drippy lighting, great music. We're gonna have a feast. I think this sounds lovely.
Yeah.
That is so fun. Okay, so you're food motivated.
Yeah.
Any last words on Craig or you regarding all things acting?
No, I think we covered a lot of different stuff. I'm really excited for this premiere. I'm really excited to see the reaction and to see what else is in store for this short film.
Well, awesome. So I just want to say to everyone who's watching, thank you for watching. This is live on Instagram, Facebook, and always YouTube. And we'll see you soon with our next interview coming soon. Let me go to IG and turn us off. All right. Bye-bye.